What's up, everybody? This is Chris Nichols, and you're listening to an episode of the Nichols and Dimes Show featuring Diane Smith. Enjoy.
You don't know what I'm about to do. Big explosion, get away right now. She's heating up.
Diane Smith, what's going on?
How's it going?
It's good to see you. Happy New Year.
I know. Good to see you too. It's been a while.
It has. I know. We've grown up a little bit, huh?
I know, right? Especially this time last year. Wild ride.
Oh man. Well, guys, I want to introduce you to my very special guest and friend today, the one and only Diane Smith, who has a very interesting background in entrepreneurship, mainly because of the creativity she has applied to her approach with a variety of different side businesses and revenue streams. Some of these include services like event planning and marketing consulting, but I'll let her share more. Diane is from Danville, California, has spent time living in Dubai and London, and now resides in San Diego. What a journey, Diane.
I know, it's been a lot, especially since just 2020, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow. Where should we start? How about your departure from Danville when you were in high school? What happened after that? And could you just walk us through where you've lived?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. So when I was in high school, I won most likely to stay in Danville. And I think from that moment, I was
that is funny.
I'm going to prove you guys wrong. And so I just went to like SF State, so I was close to home, and so I think I kind of got that bug of like, okay, I want to go somewhere else and everything like that. And so I went to Disney College in Florida right after like high school, and so I did that for a year, and then I met international people out there, and that really just got me going crazy. And so I was like, okay, well, on to the next. And so got a company, worked with like a recruiting company out in, moved back home in Danville, and then they had a London office, which they sent me out to, opened the office out there, and then that kind of just kept me going with like the whole wanting to be with international people 24/7. And so I did that, and then that guided me to go to Dubai for 5 years because I had some friends who moved out there, and then like visas are so easy to get out there. So I was young, I wanted to experience living abroad, and I did that, and that's kind of when I started doing like events, and it's like the event capital of the world. So did that in Dubai, and then I actually got stuck here during 2020, and then I was like, well, what better place to live than San Diego if I'm going to be stuck in the US? And I've actually learned to love it, and that's kind of where I started the whole entrepreneur and everything like that, kind of guided my way into that.
Well, it sounds like you started it much earlier because so tell me about what Disney College is. I'm not familiar. Yeah,
so Disney College is basically you go and you can either be like a character or you can work in the parks, and basically I was working in the parks, and you go to school through Disney College, so you're getting like college credits. Like I did communication, so I got college credits to that. And then while you're doing that, you work in the park. So it's like an internship / college career. And so so many people from like outside the U.S. come because it's like a free visa for them to experience that. And that's how like the doors open with like meeting so many international people. And in a way you feel like you're studying abroad, but you're in Florida. It's pretty cool.
But why did you choose this Disney idea at first?
I did the Disney one, because I love Disney and it's always just been like a big thing in my heart. But I love like, because I did it more for the performance aspect, because I've always been like the creatives. And so being out there, it was just such an opening door, and like Disney has like so many different avenues, and I was kind of in like the sports field as well, and I know that they bought out ESPN, so there's just different avenues I could go. And so when I got that opportunity, I was like, Disney looks good on a resume. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I always loved the like performing aspect of Disney, so I was like, this could be the right path, and it guided me to other things.
It was like a door that you could open into a lot of other opportunities more than anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I would have never gone abroad if I didn't do Disney. So
got it.
Thankful for it.
So why Dubai?
So originally I was in London, and I was dating a guy who was actually Goofy from Disney College. So yeah, long story short.
Was he a funny guy?
Yeah, more height rather than him being funny. And so he was British, moved to London, but I didn't move for him. I was already in London, and then like we connected again because he was from Disney, and then we were dating for a couple years, and it was just difficult to the visa thing and everything like that. Being in London, like when you're American, it's not as easy. And so, but if you go to Dubai, like you're given a visa, it's super easy. And so he just was like, "Hey, do you want to move to Dubai?" Because his sister was out there. I moved with him. We ended up obviously breaking up, and I still stayed out there because I built a career for myself out there, but that was the original reason why I did Dubai.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask about the how you got involved with event stuff in Dubai, because you mentioned there's such a big place for that.
Yeah.
How did that start in Dubai?
Yeah, so I originally, because when I did London, I was doing recruiting, so it was just kind of like a sales job. Just a lot of people do that, I feel like, after college. Yeah. Just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then when I went to Dubai, I got put into like an events and exhibition sales company, so you were like selling these events and exhibitions. And I always loved events. Like I did events for the Warriors, for the 49ers, everything like that. But for some reason, when you go in sales, a lot of people know this, like you can never get out of it. And so I got into, and then I was like, also I was in Dubai and I wanted to have a job. So I kind of would have taken anything. And then it just happened that it was a sales and events company. So it worked out kind of great. But then I did that for about a year just to get my feet, you know, kind of understand Dubai, kind of see if I like it, everything like that. And then I got, I don't remember how. I think someone just reached out to me and they're like, I saw your resume, and I saw, again, they were like, I saw you did sales. And so they brought me in to sell their apartment complex. But in like a year of me working there, they opened up this like kind of co-working space, so like a WeWork in a way. And they wanted someone to come and do the events for all the people who were there, because it was actually a co-working space for creatives. So you had to have like a creative background to work there. And so they were like, but we want someone to come in and create these events and manage these events, but like do them different, like, because drinking events and like all that stuff isn't as common as it is here. Well, when I was doing it. Sure. And so coming in, I kind of like, he was like, I want to break the norm. I want to like, you know, and like, I've already broken that norm in America because that's like normal for us, but bringing it to Dubai was like a total different aspect and stuff like that. Wow. So then I started doing that for the co-working space, and that just kind of opened my eyes. And that was like my last job in Dubai before I got stuck in 2020.
Got it.
Yeah. That's
cool. So like, what's an example? Could you give an example of your favorite event that you put on in Dubai? Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's a lot. Let's see.
Like give us detail.
So one of the ones I really enjoyed, so like we would always do like there was one that was called like sunset sessions, and that was always fun because it was like a DJ on top of the roof because the weather's amazing. I mean, it's either too hot or it's just nice. Yeah. And we do like drinks and food on the rooftop, which is like a normal event. I really enjoy that. But like one of the coolest events I think we did was like the Wim Hof project. I'm sure you know because you're into health and everything like that. But basically, he obviously didn't come, but like one of the people who works directly with him came out, and it was like a 2-day. It was a 2-day course, and like we put it on, and we did like sound healing, and then the breathing exercises, and then we went over, and we got to participate also, which was kind of cool. And then we did like the ice, and then you have to do for 3 minutes, and you can do for 5 minutes, and then we came back the next day and like did that, and then we had this whole like yoga retreat. So it was just really cool because we could combine all these different health things that I had no idea about. Like I didn't know what sound healing was. I just knew about yoga.
That's sick.
And so it was like, and then to do learning the breathing exercise and like be a part of that. And then when that was like 4 years ago, and now I hear people talk about it all the time, and I was like, like it wasn't even that big when I know it's been big, but I hadn't heard about it.
Sure. No, you're right. It's definitely become more popular over the past few years since then.
So that was so I would say that was probably the coolest one, just because it was out of my norm and it was like a cool experience.
Got it. Like the norm being more kind of party oriented.
The sunset sessions, like a DJ, like love those, but also it's sometimes cool when it's like super different and breaking out and like making you feel kind of uncomfortable, you know, and pushing yourself.
Because so I want to ask you, like, when did you realize that you were so entrepreneurial, or how did you get that way? But I'm deriving from your description of your experience so far that this type of event planning, it requires so much creativity, and you're really running the show in a way, even if somebody else might be paying you. At the end of the day, it seems to really be linked, and I feel like there are a lot of parallels to some of the stuff that you're doing today, which of course we'll talk about here. But are you able to describe in your words what made you realize you can do a lot of these side businesses or type of entrepreneurial pursuits on your own, and that you could be good at it?
Because I think me becoming an entrepreneur came not me even realizing. It was just like a natural instinct, because again, like I said, like I never I'm very talkative. I can talk to people, so I'm always dragged back into sales, and I don't like sales, but for some reason, all I do is sales. And so because I kept being put in these positions, I kind of had to find something that I was passionate about on the side. And so that's why I would do like events on the side, or like, even if it was someone's like birthday, I'd be like, can I plan it for you? Just because I wanted to have that, like what I was passionate about, you know? And the reason why I feel like...
so you would just ask them like straight up,
yeah,
like, hey, can I do this for you?
Yeah, because it was just at the beginning where I'm like, but I didn't even realize I was doing it. But like someone would be like, yeah, I think I'm going to do my birthday. I'm like, oh, well, why don't you do this? And I started realizing I was like taking over because it was just, I was so passionate about it, and I was like, didn't want to do sales, which was like my normal job and paid the bills. Sure. But then I also noticed that like, what I didn't like about doing event, and this is why I feel like I became an entrepreneur, is because when you do events for a company, it's like, the reason why I like events is because I can be creative. I can think of new things. And I really like thinking outside the box rather than like, cookie cutter, like white picket fence, light pink napkins. Like, I want it to be different. I want you to be like, oh my God, I've never seen something like this before. Nice. But when you work for events in a company, and this is why I feel like I never enjoyed, besides the one in Dubai, that was pretty cool because I could kind of break out of the norm. You're usually going by brand guidelines, and it's like, okay, hey, our colors are blue and orange, and you have to do these 3 types of events. Go call the people. And it's like, I can, anyone can do logistics, but and I've done that my whole career just to build myself up. But it's like, I want to have the reins. I want to come up with the creatives. And so I feel like that's how I feel like I kind of went into it, and that's why I felt like I can actually do this myself. It's because I just started naturally doing it, and the only reason why I did this is because I was like, I'm so much more creative than the box that corporate companies put you in. And so I was like, I want to do it on my own.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that built you up to where you are today. So you came to San Diego, and you mentioned that it seemed like a good idea in 2020, right?
Yeah.
It was just a good environment. You had come from the Bay Area where you had just gotten back to at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's kind of when I would say the entrepreneur started more, because I also... like, I got lucky being stuck in America, but at my parents' house. So it wasn't like I had to pay rent. And I got lucky. Right. My old landlord didn't make me pay rent. And then, like, I think I had, like, 6 side jobs just living at my parents' house, just, like, developed over time. But I didn't want to cut you off. I knew you were going to say something. No,
you're going in the direction I wanted to go. Because the side jobs at your parents' house, this is 2020. The world was a complete mess, of course.
Yeah.
what were some of those side jobs then? And then, of course, we'll talk about the ones today.
Yeah, so basically, and luckily they kind of, like, all combined. So basically, March, got stuck, and then... my birthday was June, so nothing really happened in the beginning because we all were like on lockdown. We didn't think we could do anything. And so even though I was like always trying to think of something, but it's whatever. But then basically June came around, which was my birthday, and we were still in lockdown. And I had planned this huge like picnic event in my backyard, which is kind of what started my whole picnic business. Okay. Yeah, and I was like, you know what? Because in my head, I was like, I can't really go to Target. I can't really get these like event stuff that I would normally want to get. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me get some... pallets. Let me grab some pallets because we had some in the backyard. Let me go in next door, and then everyone just set them outside of their like garage. Like, hey, I have pallets. So I went around the neighborhood, picked up pallets, got all these pillows like from my house, and like blankets and candles because we just had tons of stuff at my parents' house. Yeah. And I made this huge picnic in my backyard and surprised all my friends because it was like there wasn't really much you could do, so it was like a fun thing. And another thing that I did for my birthday is I made everyone a tie-dye set just to wear for my birthday. Even though it was June, it was so hot, I was like, you gotta wear it for the picture. And I posted it on my Instagram, and like from that moment, like the tie-dye blew up. Like I had a business in seconds. Like I literally I had like 10,000 orders in my first month just of freaking tie-dye. It was insane. Like I couldn't even handle it. Like I had to have my sister come on and work for me because I couldn't do it myself. Like
10,000 orders in the first month. Did you even set this up with an intention of selling it?
No. So, I literally just did it. But people were like, oh my God, what is this? This is insane. And it just blew up. Oh, timber. But so it was like insane. And like, so I had no intention of doing that. And, no intention of doing that, got all these orders, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know how long this is going to be sustainable. Like, you know, it's a tie-dye business. Like, it'll probably go out after COVID. But then it just kind of got overwhelming. And then from that, other people on the side were being like, hey, like, can you do an event for me in my backyard? Because they saw the pictures of the event. So it like went two directions. It was like tie-dye and picnics, and then that's kind of where it blew up. And it was just because of that one birthday post that I posted.
So so like, did a ton of people just discover you with just the classic Instagram?
Because I think at first it was like friends of a friend of a friend of a friend. And then also I had so many people from Dubai. I even was sending them to like Ireland and like UK because I had friends in the like you also got stuck at home and like different in Europe.
So naturally a bunch of your friends and your following hit you up. I'm like, yo, I want one of these. Yeah. Well, how do I get it? So how did you start producing these, making these, and then getting inventory?
It was so hard because at first I was like,
Were you doing it all
this
yourself?
Yeah, and that's how I had to bring my mom and my sister on, and I had to pay them. I was like, I think I need to like this needs to become something.
That's badass.
Yeah, it was super cool. It was one of those things where I'm like, I never saw like my future in it because it was such COVID, like sweatpants, tie-dye, like it was such a temporary thing. But I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm not paying rent. I can make money from this. And then, but the event aspect, which also came from that with like the picnics and people doing people's birthdays and stuff like that, or engagements, kind of blew up. And so I started doing that in people's backyards because again, we weren't doing anything. So I was doing that in people's backyards. And then I think that was like June, July. And then in August, I was like, you know what? I really like miss music and stuff. And so I started this thing called Yard Jams.
Yeah.
And that was like, I got all these musicians who've been dying to sing because they've been stuck at home for so long.
And this was still 2020, right?
This is still 2020 at my parents' house.
Okay.
So this is August 2020. And I literally put a big carpet out front of my house. I called different local taco trucks, like any food truck, and like collaborated with all of them. And then just like sent a flyer to all my neighbors. I was like, hey, I'm doing Yard Jams if you guys want to join. And it was like so many people showed up. All these different musicians came, and I made like a little stage on my front lawn, and all my neighbors showed up. We put a taco truck on my...
No way.
Yeah, it was like the coolest thing ever. And it actually,
So you basically just hosted these like neighborhood concerts in your front yard.
Yeah, exactly. That's how like the event thing started. It was so much fun.
And a bunch of people around Danville were down. Like, did you, I know, I kind of understand how the neighborhood works because I've known some people from there, especially when I lived in the Bay, but...
Everyone knows everyone.
Is it like that? Was that how...
Yeah, it was... But I also put flyers around, so I feel like putting them in flyers, because I don't know everyone in my neighborhood that like
but
they
it's
would talk.
It's a safe, trusting neighborhood, and people are down just to collaborate with neighbors, to hang out.
Yeah, and then I started doing it like every other Friday, and then the musicians would come, and they loved it, and then a bar, once things kind of started opening up, a bar had me come and like set up at their bar called Yard Jams, like, and I collaborated with them, which was really cool. It was really fun, but it was one of those things. The picnic thing stuck, but like the Yard Jams and the tie-dye was like such a fun thing during COVID, and it was like I could still do obviously a concert on our front porch, but it wouldn't be as like exciting.
I get it. Yeah. Well, because it was like so many people were resorting to these types of ideas to do anything, right? They're like, oh, let's do this outside. Let's try to get creative because everywhere else is closed.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why it was so exciting and stuff. But again, I knew it wasn't going to be something forever, but it was like intertwined with like doing events and everything like that. And then I moved 2020 to San Diego in October, and then someone asked me to do a picnic on Valentine's Day, and I was like, oh wait, people are still interested in this, and then I kept it going.
So somebody asked you, somebody you knew?
Yeah, I think it was a friend of a friend who saw me on Instagram, and then once I did one, then it was like I was getting them each weekend. People were messaging, DMing me like, hey, can you do a picnic and stuff like that, and I never like made it a bigger thing because I was like, I'm making so much money just doing it on my own. And then, but yeah, I mean, I love it. It was awesome, and it's been a really fun experience because I get to be creative and I get to do what I want, which is super cool.
So, like that picnic, for example, the first one you did in San Diego, what does that look like specifically?
Yeah, it was actually for two couples. It was for, and this was my first time doing it, so I didn't know the rules. Like, I didn't know if like you're allowed to like just set up on a beach. Like, I wasn't sure. And it was on Valentine's Day, and it was in. Oh my gosh, it starts with a C, where your grandma used to live.
Coronado.
Yeah. And it was in Coronado, and I remember I set it up where I was like, I found this perfect spot, I'm going to set it up, and like, obviously you can't set up till the day of, and I get there, and there was like a wedding, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what do I do? And so...
Well, was it pretty hard set on the exact location? You guys...
Yeah, it wasn't set on the location, but I was like, I didn't know Coronado that well, and I was like, where's a good place? Because I also need to look where I can park my car and set up, because I'm the only one doing this, and I was like a newbie to it, and then I like went down the the street and there was a beach and I just happened to like pop up and cops came over and they're like, you can't have alcohol, you can't have this. And then I was like, okay, note to self, you can't have glass. Like, so I was like learning over time, but it worked out. It like turned out great. It's like one of my favorite pictures I have of events that I did. But, but yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah,
but,
we'll share that picture too with people so people get an idea. That reminds me of there's so many obscure rules with stuff like this on the beach.
I know.
Remember my birthday? Like
yes.
What the hell? So
I'm like, it's wild.
Yeah, like the bay here where everyone's always hanging out. They're bringing chairs, tables. That was the first time I ever heard after years of living a couple blocks away from the bay here in Pacific Beach, San Diego. They said there's no furniture allowed, or no speakers, right?
Yeah.
And I guess these are rules, but they only choose to enforce them at certain times. My birthday, of course, is 4th of July weekend, so
that's going to be enforced.
Yeah. So I ended up putting all of the food. You know, the idea was a potluck. Everyone had to put it on the ground.
Yeah.
It was kind of a pain in the ass. But anyway. Yeah, so you started with that Valentine's thing with these two couples. Was it like a double date?
Yeah, it was like a double date. The girls were surprising their boyfriend with it. Oh, it was cool, yeah.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun, and they really enjoyed it. And they were only there for a couple hours, so I just kind of waited around, and then usually I'll go home, but I just hung around.
Nice.
And, yeah.
Wow, okay. So what else? Okay, so let's stick on the events category for a bit here. What other types of events have you put together since you've been in San Diego?
Yeah. Let's think. So yeah, the picnic thing is like the biggest one that I've done. And then also, there was another event that I did. I'm like blanking on it. Well, I would say one of the events that was like for my birthday though, when I did the Pioneer Town in Joshua Tree, was super. I wish you came.
I know. I forget what was going on.
Yeah, you're gone or something, or bachelor party or I swear you were like gone.
That must have been it.
Yeah. But that was super fun. But like, I mean, yes, it's my birthday. It's not that big of a deal, but it was because I did different like themes each night. Like it was kind of like where I could do with it, but. The picnics have been like the biggest thing I could do, but then I also did for Greenhouse Food, the donut business. I did events for them, like with DJ sets on like Sunset Cliffs, and then also they did like it's called Kroger's event in Ohio, so they like sent me out there and I put up like their booth and like we like kind of made it an event in itself, and like I planned it from like A to B and stuff, or A to Z, so it was like. That was cool as well.
So what she's saying, of like the greenhouse example, it's basically collaborating with small businesses that owners she knows or some sort of connection, and they know that she has this skill.
Yeah, and doing their events.
Yeah, but how about the Kroger's example?
Yeah, so that was in Ohio, and it was like a Kroger's. It was for all these different small food brands that were kind of up and coming, and then they wanted to have like this California chill vibe, so I kind of set up their booth rather than just like a table and tablecloth. It was like, we had the music, we had the palm trees, we had the backdrop, which was like and then like each day was kind of planned out, like how we were going to like talk to people. I went around with a basket just handing out these donuts and stuff, but it was super fun. But it was cool because it was like I was taking my creatives to a brand rather than like me working under a brand, if that makes sense. Like me being able to be like, okay, let's do this, and them coming to me because they saw my creatives, which was exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys, if you need an event done, Diane's got the skills. I'm curious, before we move into some of the more marketing, social media related stuff, what type of work do you have to put in behind the scenes before this? Give us an example of the different type of chores or setup you have to do. Yeah, for like an event. Yeah. I mean, so because I do it myself, I could probably have people help me, and it would be a lot less like hectic. But I would just have for picnic, for example, like I would have to go and prepare like all the food, because I always usually give like a charcuterie board with like a bottle or whatnot. So I have to go pick up that. Then I usually make the board ahead of time, and then that morning, I like a couple hours before, I have to pack everything into my car. And I used to live like 3 stories up, so I'd have to walk down every single step. It was kind of difficult. And then I'd go to the spot, set up, which would take about an hour, and then they would have like their picnic, let's say 2-3 hours, and then I'd come back, take it down, and then I have to bring it back into my place. So it is a lot of steps, and it's really difficult, but the hard work does pay off because it's like very rewarding. And like because the only thing is it takes up my weekends, and that's kind of why I was like starting to fade away from events. But I now that's why I kind of like doing events for other people rather than just solely myself, because
when it was myself, it was like I couldn't say no to people, and I was like, it was giving up all my, not that I care about giving up my weekends, because you have to work hard to get to where you want to be, but I also was like, if I'm doing so much hard work, I kind of wanted to pay off and still enjoy, like, you know, my time and stuff. And so it was a lot of work, but if I were to like get fully back into it, I feel like I could hire someone, or like, you know, have someone help where I could teach them, and then it wouldn't just be all only on me, and I would probably enjoy it a little bit more, because I'd be able to have like a little bit of free time rather than just waiting and like taking up my entire day.
But the cool benefit you have there is you know exactly what needs to happen.
Exactly.
That's because that people overthink that, they overlook that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's on me. It's what I want to do. It's not under someone else's watch, and how much money I want to make or how much I want to do. It's
well, what I'm saying is they overlook like all the logistical things. They think, oh, I can figure this out, this out. But when it really is much harder, I think, when you actually do it.
Yeah.
Like trying to get everything set up, like, oh my gosh, this table isn't right, or this tablecloth, whatever, little things like that, and you just know all the things that need to happen. So I think you could delegate pretty quickly, pretty easily, given your experience. And it's the same idea, like what you did with your mom and sister tie-dye, right?
Yeah, put them to work.
Yeah, for real. Well, cool. So that's. Yeah, I love the event stuff.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see more, and hopefully be a part of one sometime soon.
Oh, absolutely. I know. I need to do more of like with friends and stuff. Like that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be fun, and you know, make sure that your friends maybe give you a little bit of money for that too. Yeah. But let's talk about the marketing social media stuff. So what kind of consulting work are you doing there for people?
So funny enough, Greenhouse, which we were talking about earlier, I actually met the founder in Cabo, which is a funny story. And that's when I was still doing events and everything like that. And I was talking to him and saying like, hey, like I do events and like you have a great brand, like would love to help out. And then that's when I did the Kroger's event in Ohio in August 2021 and then that's when they brought me on like part-time to like build their community and do their marketing and like just build their platforms. And that's when I kind of was like, I enjoy the social media marketing aspect of things, because that's what's gotten me to where I am today. Yeah. And that's given me so many different avenues, because like without the marketing, I would have never got tie-dye. I would have never had my picnics. Like that is why I love it so much, and I'm not scared to post. I'm not scared to like show like my everyday life or like whatever it is. And like that's
a big hurdle for a lot of people.
Yeah, because
me included.
It was hard because you think people aren't going to be receptive to it, and like the whole thing that people are saying now on TikTok is like being your authentic self, and that's way more interesting than like seeing the person with like the makeup and they look perfect and they're rich and all this stuff. It's like, no, I want to see your everyday life. I want to see you slip and fall, or I want to see if it happens, it happens. You know what I mean? And like people are more interested to see that. And so that's why I'm really been more into marketing, because you can market yourself in so many different ways. It's awesome. I was just listening to a podcast today actually that was making that exact point. Ooh, sorry. About, no worries, but about how it was, you know, some influencers, of course, because they're interviewing each other on the podcast. Actually, the Ed Milet show, in case anyone was interested. But he was talking to somebody, and they were both making the point of the most engagement they get, or just the easily shareable, very simple types of content that they put on, not the full-on production, tons of editing, curated type of content. Yeah. But just the real shit. Yeah, because it's awesome when you see someone's drone and they're in the Maldives, like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. Yes, I want to see that. But I'm also like, I can't relate to this. Like when I go to the Maldives, I probably saved up my entire life savings to go there, and I got a cool picture. But you know what I mean? Like it's cool for an aspect, because it's really cool to see the world in like a different lens. But it's way cooler to see someone like who's on like the same salary as you, who you know, like has a roommate and barely can afford rent each month or whatever, and things like you can relate seeing to. Those struggles exactly, and that's like the biggest thing to social media, which I love that it's turned that way. Yeah, and that's why I've kind of turned to it and wanted to help people out, because I think there's so much you can do with it, and again, you can be creative, and it's like something you can do from your phone. Like love the events, and I still continue to do events, and I love that because it brings people together. But that's why I do marketing on the side, because it's a thing just from your hands. And you can help people build a community. Yeah. So what's the scale of the types of consulting in social media marketing, or marketing in general, that you've worked with in the recent couple of years? Yeah, I mean, I've done like where someone has like 10 followers, and I've raised it to like 5,000 in 6 months, you know, like kind of have done that. Or I've done it where they have a huge following, but they want me to come up with the creatives and like the posting and like the just literally finding like what we're gonna post each day.
Yeah.
And it's like people are probably like, okay, well, you went from events to marketing and stuff like that. It's like I still do events, but I think the reason why I can like switch over is because it's just sometimes people hire me just to be their creatives. Like, hey, what can we post? What's the caption? And it sounds so stupid because we just post and put captions every day. But when you put thought into it, it catches people's attention. And like sometimes I thought it was so easy. I'm like, why would someone hire me to do this? But sometimes people are like, no, I can't think of it the way you think of it. But then I'm also like, well, I couldn't think of what you do on a normal basis, and you might think it's so easy, you know? So that's where I've just done a range of different things. And like, through TikTok recently, I've gained like a bunch of different exposure where I'll do like videos for them, just talking about it. But I don't go over the top. I'm just like, hey, I found this. Like, if you guys are interested, here you go. You know, so it's like I market myself along with marketing for other brands. Yeah.
So like when you're, gosh, those are some cool examples. So you mentioned growing someone's following from like 1 to 5,000 or something, and then you mentioned actually doing the content. Like, well, is it more focused on the actual strategy where you're just giving out ideas? Like, hey, you should post this picture of yourself on the beach with your dog and then write this caption.
Right.
Or is it more you're actually doing the work for them? You take control of social media accounts, or is it a pretty good mix?
I would say the ones who I like solely work on, like I have a contract with them monthly, that is where I'm like, I am coming up with the content like, hey, we should collaborate with these people. This is going to build us, and we should do this collab. We should do this giveaway. We should do this. This is the picture we are going to capture. This is who's going to capture it. These are the models. Like that is the ones where I'm like, I have a contract with them. I'm there each month, like, cause I am building out their brand. But then with other people, just bring me on real fast. Like I could just for a month, just give them different creatives and just help them like solely on that. But I enjoy doing that, but I also enjoy when I'm like with them constantly, because I'm like, I know this brand and I can see it grow, and I can like, oh, that worked, but this didn't work. This worked, this didn't work. And so like, that's easy for me to do. Or on the side, it could just be like a side job where they're like, hey, I just need someone to help me with like creatives for a month. And I'm like, okay, cool. Bring me in.
Got it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I might have to take you up on some of this stuff.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good stuff. Okay, so this is, a great overview of all the stuff you've been working on. I want to ask you a fun question I'm asking all these entrepreneurs in this show, in this entrepreneur series at least. But what would you say is an entrepreneurial life hack that might be different from the mainstream belief that you believe in? Well,
because I feel like the main belief is that, like, okay, I've always said this, especially with America, and this is why I feel like I've always had I love traveling, I love getting out and stuff like that, is that I feel, I do think it's changed though in 2020, but before, what I really didn't like about the mainstream and like working and stuff like that, it was very like, we are living to work. And I feel like in Europe and other places, like, they have their job, but like they have an after work life. They go out for drinks, they go out and do stuff. Like their work is just 8 hours in their day and that's it. Like that's, you know? And so I feel like with being like the entrepreneur life and stuff like that, and like the life hack is like finding what you're passionate about, because it's so cliche, but like, and my dad always said this, my dad's a coach and he loves coaching and he's done it like since day one, and he like, and I'm like, Dad, when are you going to retire? You've been doing this for like 100 years. Like, what? You're crazy. I've already had like 20 jobs in the middle of you having one. Yeah. And he's like, the moment I retire is the day I die. And I'm like, to feel that passionate about something that you love, because you work and you see your colleagues more than you see your loved ones, your family, your friends, like, you know what I mean? And so I feel like with the entrepreneur is that like, just because I never was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to create this event, or I'm going to create this, I'm going to create this. It just happened to come because I was so passionate about it that like, yes, I had my salary, I had my job, it happened to be events sometimes, but like a lot of times it was just a sales job, make some money, pay rent, whatever. But my entrepreneur came out because I was like so passionate about it that like on my weekends, I wouldn't care if someone needed help with an event, because to me that was fun. And I feel like when you find something you're passionate about, like don't let the world, and I feel like we have such a opening to do whatever you want these days, but like don't let the world tell you that you need to be in a 9-to-5. That's not doesn't fit you. You don't need to do it. And like the moment you know what you're passionate about or where you think you like enjoy, it immediately comes out, and you can just do what you want and work for yourself. And like you can do trial and error, you can work for other companies, and now with like UGC and like there's so many like big companies using just average everyday people instead of these big models, and it just shows that like the world's changing and like the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
And you just have to take advantage of that, because every single thing, the tie-dye, the events, the marketing, it was all in one big circle. But it was just because I really love doing this, and then just started weaving. And I did for my birthday because I wanted to do it, but that turned into a job for me. And it was just because I was doing things I was passionate about. So I think that's huge.
So I'm the way I hear what you just said is like, don't discount the passions you have.
Yeah.
If you can, there's a lot of ways you can find a way. There's many ways you can find a route within your passion to create something entrepreneurial.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like another thing is that we get down on ourselves because we're like, oh, someone already thought of this idea. Someone already does this. But it's like, because I always was like, why would people want my events? There's so many event companies. Like, why me? And it was one of those things where it's like, because they are coming to me for my work. And it's like, you will be good. And like, let's say you draw a circle and that's what people want you for, and another person draws a circle, they might have curves on theirs, yours might not. Like there's always a reason someone wants you, and if like you're passionate, it shows in your work. And I think we get so put in these 9-to-5 jobs and we feel like that's the only way we can live, and it's not.
Yeah, and even if something seems saturated, no one does it quite like you.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Nice. So we just finished up 2022.
Yeah, gosh. It's been a whirlwind.
That's the reaction I've generally heard from people. There's been very few people who have said, oh, wow, 2022 was awesome.
Yeah.
If anything, it was at least a roller coaster of a year for many people. I'm curious, here we are a few weeks into 2023, but what would you say was your biggest highlight of 2022? And then I want to hear your biggest challenge.
Yeah. I would say my biggest highlight, it's easier to say because I was like towards the end, but I would say this sounds like stupid, but it opened a lot of doors for me, is going viral on TikTok. Yeah. Because I only did this video. It was actually for recruiting, which I was just doing on, as my main job because I could work from home. So it was awesome. But, I made this video because I couldn't find candidates, and like it blew up. I got like 12,000 new followers. Like it was awesome. Like it was just, didn't even mean to happen. But because of that, I've been able to like, branch out and like use my platform for events, for marketing and everything like that. And because of this one simple gesture. And I think also it was very cool to see, because you just see, oh, people are blowing up on TikTok. Like, how do I do that? Or like it changes people's lives. Yeah. And for it to actually happen, it just opens so many doors and like opportunities. And I feel like that was like a huge thing. And it sounds so stupid because I was like, go viral on TikTok, but it was one of those things where like I wasn't expecting it. Yeah. And now I was given this platform where I'm like, oh, I can be creative with it, and I can market myself. So
tell us what you did there, though. Like, what was the post?
So basically, which is funny, it has nothing to do with events or anything like that. But I when events were kind of like getting difficult because like 2020, and then like I was doing the picnics, but then it was like I moved to Hawaii for 3 months, came back, like I was kind of all over the place. And so I didn't bring the events back right away, but then I was like, I just need a salary, but I also want to live in Hawaii. So I did a recruiting job because I could work remote. So it was really awesome because it let me travel and everything like that. And the company was great and they were super nice. But because of the recession and like everything happening, it's hard to get people jobs. Everyone's like nervous about their jobs. And so I was like, I need candidates and I can't find any. And so I went to TikTok and I was like, hey, I had 4 followers. And I was like, hey, I'm a recruiter. I'm looking for people. Anyone's looking for a job, like hit me up. And it just like blew up. And I was like, okay, now I have too many people. I don't know what to do with this. But because of that, it like led me down the path, like, because I have this huge following that people are actually listeing to me now. It's like, and I even like, and I kind of changed it to like, hey, you can change your career, like here, and I kind of made it more about entrepreneurship, and that's why I was like, oh, this podcast is perfect, because that's why I started using my platform for, because again, I didn't think I could get ever viral or I could ever make something out of it, but it got me there, and so I think. And I think that was like a huge thing, but it was just because, for example, like something happened for recruiting, got big, had nothing to do with like my passion, but then I took that, and that's when I guided it to helping me get marketing opportunities, event opportunities, because I just was like, oh, I'm going to use this. So it was like, again, it was one of those things where like it came out of nowhere, just like my events, just like tie-dye, but I took it and I ran with it, and then I brought it back to like what I want to do. Yeah, amazing. You got a few of that. I feel like that's really a common theme too with entrepreneurs who, I mean, it comes about
unexpected in some ways.
Yeah.
And then you take something and you run with it. You run with it when you're unsure about it. But that's a cool story about the TikTok post.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then you want a hardship?
Yeah, let's hear the challenge, Diane.
Well, and the funniest thing is I would say one of my biggest challenges is I lost my job, the recruiting job. So full circle. It's funny because October was when I did the video, and that's when I was struggling. And then at the end of the year, I lost my job. I knew it was coming just because, like, nothing was really happening. It was one of the hardships because, like, that to me was, even though it wasn't something I was like, I was passionate about, I liked it, but it wasn't like obviously my main thing. Like I've said, I'm in the creative business, but it got me like a salary, paid for my rent, it got me able to travel, how to work from home. But it was one of those things where it's like, it kind of was a blessing in disguise because it made me take other pathways and start like betting on myself and kind of it was funny, you called me at the perfect time because now I'm like, oh wait, I need to start marketing myself again and doing my events. And like, because I was so comfortable with this job and having a salary come in, I was like never thinking twice about it. But now that they did fire me, I'm like, oh, I can actually do what I want to do and get back into like where I really belong. And I think it was a hardship because you think your life's crumbling down and people are like, let's go out and stuff. You're like, I don't even have a job. Yeah. But it's and you're like, how do I pay rent and all this stuff? But it's like, if you work hard and you just like go after what you're passionate about, I've already had things come to me just because I was like, I really want this, and it worked because your passion comes through your work.
Well, what a blessing that you have that mindset and that you've had this experience so that when you find yourself in that situation, you're not panicking, trying to interview the next day, get another job immediately, because you already know you can make things work with your own your entrepreneurial creativity.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people get comfortable and like I did, and I would have never left just because it was such an easy like pay and got it, you know, and stuff. And I think a lot of people get stuck in their 9-to-5s and they're not happy, but they're like, well, I don't want to go looking for another job, and they hear the fear of people losing their jobs and all that stuff. So I think sometimes it's a blessing in disguise.
Yep. Well, amazing recap of 2022. I think a lot of people can relate to
highs and lows.
Yeah, to some of that. Very cool. Okay, so this is something I'm asking everybody with the idea in mind that I'm looking for a certain type of profile for the show, somebody who's entrepreneurial, somebody who's hustling, building their own brand or business of some sort. Yeah. Do you have anyone in mind that you think I should bring onto the show?
Yeah. I mean, I do have some people in mind stuff, but one person who and I like happened over the past week is Nakota. Like, he's killing it. Have you seen what's happened with his page? And
no.
So you know Nakota, right?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, he's a mutual friend of ours both, right? And so, you want a little music break? Basically, Nakota, you know how he does this like fashion is sustainable wear, how he like combines clothes or whatnot. He posted a video on Instagram like last week, and it got over like 1 million views, and he has now like 110K followers.
Whoa.
And he's sold out, like, and he's been doing that for like 5 years. Like, I'm like amazed by it, and I'm like,
I will definitely get him on.
He's incredible. I think you should definitely.
Unreal. I had no idea because I remember it
happened like overnight. Like, if you did not check his Instagram for the past like 2 days, you would have not known.
Wow.
Like, it just happened.
And by the way, guys, but whenever I get to Nakota, just for context, we're recording this in about early mid-January. But wow, Nakota, I'm so happy to hear that because I remember his back was against the wall when he had to leave San Diego to go back to the East Coast.
And now here he is killing it, and he's sold out, and like, it's incredible.
And that's amazing. Great recommendation. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Of course, I know, because it was so fast because we've known him for so long. When I saw that, I'm like, shut up. That's incredible. I love sick. When Instagram and TikTok does it. Yeah,
because he was just working at a pizza shop out here trying to pay the bills.
I think like even a coffee shop once. Remember he had to wake up at like 4 a.m., like couldn't go out. Like, I'm like... And now he has people in Europe reaching out, Canada, like everywhere. It's amazing.
That's huge. I'm going to be reaching out to him very soon.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, Diane, what a great conversation.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Where can people find you online?
You can find me. I do post a lot about events and everything like that on my Instagram, Smitty, SMI. 3 T's Y.
Okay. 3 T's.
SMITTTY. And then
that'll be posted with this episode too.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And then TikTok for sure, because that's like where I post like I post like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And it's DIANE 2 E's and then Smith, Smith. So,
Okay.
yeah, you can find me there. And I'm always looking for new friends and, you know, collaborations, everything like that.
I love it. Well, Diane, what a journey and what
Yeah.
cool things you're up to. I'm stoked to see you continue to grow this.
Yeah,
and
you as well. My first podcast. I love it.
Let's do it. Well, that's exactly what I'm looking for right now is people who are at that level, people who are impressive people doing cool things.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get them kind of early on the up and coming stage, right? So, I mean, you know, we'll
Just like
see.
Dakota, he was at a coffee shop yesterday, and now he's selling out.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's
Totally
such an exciting time for people,
Yeah.
right? So
And the world is ours these days.
For real.
You as well.
Well, thank you, Diane. Again,
Thank you.
This has been a lot of fun, and let's get after it. Let's work hard.
Yes,
and
2023 is going to be a good year. I can tell.
Yeah,
Got a good feeling.
I feel it. Mid-January here, we're moving.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Exactly. Well, thanks. It was so much fun.
Absolutely.
Love
Cool.
it.
Good stuff. All right, Diane.
Cool.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
I just don't know how, I just don't know how, I just don't know how to slow down now, I just don't know how.
Thank you for joining our conversation today on the Nichols and Dimes Show. Please check out and follow my podcast Instagram at Nichols and Dimes Show. I'd love to have you subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also find it on my website. I welcome and encourage any feedback you can share in the reviews so I can continue to improve and develop the show. Thanks again, and see you next time.